What's up, everybody? How's it going? This is the second part of the two-part video series that I did with a real-life, living, breathing, existing Google recruiter, Amy Miller. If you haven't seen the first part, I'd encourage you to do so. I'll put the link in the description below. In this part, we really focused on offer negotiation, how to get the best offer possible, dealing with interview feedback, all that good stuff. And at the end of the video, I asked Amy a bunch of back-to-back questions that you wanted me to ask her from the community post, so be sure to watch until the end. And I really want to emphasize something here, which is that between this video and the first video that I did with Amy, you really have a wealth of knowledge if you want to get into a big tech company like Google. And if you pair that with a great coding interview prep platform like AlgoExpert, my company, algoexpert.io, use the promo code CLEM, C-L-E-M, for a discount on the platform, you'll really be super well equipped to maximize your chances of landing that dream job at Google or any other big tech company. Of course, there are no guarantees in life, but really with these two videos and something like AlgoExpert, you have all the tools at your disposal. With that, I really hope that you enjoy this video. And oh, one more thing. A very wise person once said, with great content comes great smashing of the like button responsibility. You know what to do. Enjoy the video. Okay, so we've talked a lot about that initial part of the process, trying to get that interview, getting the recruiter to give you that opportunity. Hopefully we've addressed a lot of these common questions. I did want to talk a little bit about what happens after the interview process. So when you're at the offer stage, or maybe not offer stage, maybe the best way to approach this would be to throw some misconceptions or some myths that I've heard at you and see if they're real, if they are actually myths. So why don't we start with, a candidate gets an offer. They get an offer from Google, for instance. Should they even try to negotiate, or are they risking getting their offer revoked or something?
Yeah, great question. I would say this. I have not at Google, so this is pre-Google. I have revoked 2 offers in 20 years. And these are like many moons ago.
Right.
for reasons that had to do with more like background checks and things like that.
Right.
So the idea that you're going to get your offer revoked because you're simply trying to make the best deal for yourself is absolutely 100% a myth. Even if I know you're going to decline the offer, I'm still making it. I mean, you have earned a Google offer letter. I am going to put it in your hands come hell or high water. So as far as negotiating and going into that conversation, I like to talk about money pretty early. I mentioned it in my very first call, like, hey, this is going to be important. We don't have to figure it out today. We've only just met. But we are going to need to talk about this. So start thinking about expectations. Once you interview, you'll have a better idea of what we're asking you to do. You can tell me what that's going to cost. And just know that my goal is to find the magic number that you and the company could feel good about. That said, I understand that sometimes, especially for candidates who really just don't want to tell me that information, the first number or the first offer can sometimes feel icky. Just tell me that. Say, hey, thanks for the offer. I really am looking for X. Cool. Let's see if we can get there. Or maybe we can get close to X. So no, you absolutely will not have your offer revoked.
You see, this is super useful information because I think people just naturally have these misconceptions. They feel that awkwardness of like, I don't want to seem ungrateful, or I don't want to, put my relationship with this recruiter at risk. But it sounds like it's just better to be honest, because at the end of the day, you want both parties to be happy. But then,
I mean, the bigger risk, honestly, for what it's worth, the bigger risk is withholding information. If you're not helping me help you, I start questioning, like, are we really friends? Are we in this together or not?
This brings me to the next question then, or the next potential myth. Are we really friends? Are candidates really friends with? I mean, you and I are friends,
totally.
Of course. But is the candidate really friends with the recruiter, or is the recruiter potentially trying to lowball the candidate?
Right. I don't know if you saw this tweet, but I actually said this in writing, that if you are a recruiter who lowballs candidates, you are dead to me. I put that in writing, and then I thought, will this be my first ever deleted tweet? Nah. So here's why. Okay, here's why. I can't tell you with any confidence that it absolutely never happens because there's 8 billion recruiters on the planet and I don't know them all. However, if I'm an agency recruiter, I'm actually paid based on your offer. And so if I make your offer lower, I am also making my own paycheck lower. And no commission-only recruiter is going to risk that.
Right.
Secondly, as a company recruiter, so you think, well, that's great for agency aims, but you work in, big corp and whatever. I have never, in all the companies I've worked for, ever been rewarded or bonused in any way by lowballing candidates. What I have done is played myself by making an offer that I knew was going to be too low, wasn't ultimately going to make the person happy, and then I'm backfilling them 6 months later. So that was a difficult lesson I learned many, many years ago. Trying to do the right thing and, the company saying, oh, we can only pay and not pushing back. So I will tell you my job now and the way I feel about this is, yes, mindful of budget, mindful of internal equity, mindful of the labor market. But ultimately, if the offer doesn't feel good to you, you're either not going to take it, which then I'm redoing all the work I've just done for 6 months, or you're going to take it and bounce at the first real offer you get from someone else. I am not interested in duplicating my work.
I think this is super important because it should really give you that confidence as the candidate that not only is it in the best interest of the company for you to actually get a good offer and you to be happy, because then you're going to leave, like you said, 6 months later, or you're going to be unhappy, not perform well, but it's also in the best interest of the recruiter, because otherwise the recruiter has wasted, like you said, a pretty long process.
Yeah, I got to tell you, and a lot of recruiters will make this claim that, I don't make offers that get rejected and I don't take offer declines or whatever. And I will tell you, I did a study at Microsoft with a client team where we had a 50% decline rate. And what we learned in kind of looking back, this was a very small segment of the population, as a very specific team doing very specific cool AI ML stuff. And what we learned is that of the, 6 offers and we made 12 offers, 6 were rejected. All 6 of them was based on comp and went to Google, Facebook, or I think LinkedIn. I can't remember the third company, but they went to other, big tech companies. And so my argument was, look, this is why I come at you asking for money. This is exactly what. So it's gathering that data, really being very clear. I'm the only one that can push that internally. The comp team is not getting on the phone with you as a candidate. The hiring manager doesn't always have authority there, depending on the company. So it's up to me, and it's a lot of pressure and a lot of work for me. But you and I, if you're my candidate, we need to be in lockstep. We need to be helping each other out. So maybe it's a short friendship. Maybe we only talk once a year after you're already here. But yes, for the time that we're working together, we got to be close.
So then here's a follow-up question to that. I think that this negotiation process, let's call it negotiation for now, it's almost not necessarily negotiation, but let's call it negotiation. It sounds like it's almost a skill that can be developed to interact with these recruiters. Now, the problem with that is that most candidates don't go through this process or, the process of refining this skill a billion times in their life. They probably do it, maybe a handful of times or 2 handfuls if they're really going to a lot of jobs. So, for instance, speaking for me, I know that I didn't negotiate at Google. That was my very first job offer. I just took it. I was so happy about it. I just took it. And then when I went to Facebook, I did negotiate, or at least, I did a lot more of this of, telling the recruiter things and all that. But I don't know if I felt super comfortable doing it. It was my first time doing it.
Yeah.
Do you have advice for people who find themselves in this situation, and perhaps even for recruiters as well? Maybe you have advice for recruiters on how to make that part of the process more seamless, how to make it the best thing ever.
Yeah, for sure. So, practice. I do a lot of mirror talk. I will pull up a mirror and I will have a negotiation discussion. And I did the same thing as a recruiter. When I got an offer from Microsoft, I'd been a agency, small company girl, never thought I'd be in big tech. Microsoft makes me an offer and I, talked to my friends, got some labor market info, did my research. And so there's lots of ways we can talk a little bit about research if that's helpful, but lots of ways to kind of get a sense okay, this is what I should be worth. This is what the market says. You got levels.fyi, which is going to give you some insight, things like that. So I had a number, and let me tell you, I was pumped up. I'm not taking less than this, and I know what I'm worth, and all that. And I get the offer, and it's like 10,000 more than the number I had in my head. And I was like, oh God, I don't know what to do now. Like, I was ready to fight, like, shit, now what? So I called a recruiter, and I'm like, okay, I'm a recruiter, you're a recruiter, be straight with me. Am I being tested? Should I negotiate here? And he starts laughing. He's like, Amy, do you like the offer? I said, yeah. He's going to take the offer. Okay. But that's not always the case. So it starts with knowing your personal threshold. Definitely recommend, interviewing, having conversations with other recruiters that you're not maybe involved with, talking to your friends. Not every offer is created equal. So don't come at me with, well, 6 of my friends got hired at Google and they all make more than me. Well, maybe they're better than you. I don't know.
Maybe they performed better in the interviews or something like that.
Oh, they're 2 levels above you because you're 10 years younger. Got it. Okay. So there are variables, but you do want to gather as much intel and insight as you can. And then also remember that this is again, remove the personal out of it. It doesn't matter that, oh, well, I just bought a house and my mortgage is this. Oh, well, we're having a baby. And so we're going to have, like, those things are irrelevant. Don't even go there. Focus on, I'm giving you this labor in exchange for this money. Let's make it fit. So yeah, practice. I will also tell you this. I will offer up a 30-minute consult to any of your listeners. First 10 that hit you up and want to talk about this, I will gladly hop on the phone and give them some tips.
First 10 being key, because otherwise you might get 1,000 people.
I know, and so I have to limit it, because if I say everybody, then I'll never get real work done. But I am happy to offer a 30-minute coaching session. If they're coming to work at Google, that might be weird, but if they're in a situation where they're not sure how to approach it, I will gladly offer up some time, probably after working hours, to give them some guidance one-on-one.
But cool. So it's interesting. It really does sound like your best bet as a candidate is just to be open, to know what you want, to tell the recruiter, don't try to hide it, don't try to do weird, like, hiding tactics. Here's another question, I guess, about that, which is there anything that candidates can do just to get a better offer? All other things equal. Let's say we're dealing with 2 entry-level candidates or 2 mid-level candidates at the same level at the same company in the same location. Is there something that they can do to get a better offer just right off the bat? Or
yeah, I mean, gosh, as much as it pains me to say this out loud, having competing data is very compelling. I certainly will never tell a candidate, go interview a few other places and bring back some offer letters. Like, that just feels gross. I would never say that.
Right.
But I'm pragmatic enough to realize that labor market information and documentation gives us much needed grounding. I may have ideas, and I may say, hey, you're a software engineer with 5 years of experience and you've done big things, and this is kind of where we think you should be. I can make some assumptions based on what I've learned, but if you're coming to me, just like that case study I did back at Microsoft, like, we finally realized, like, looked at the data and said, holy crap, this is where we're falling down. So yeah, by having, some clear, specific, documented labor market information, that helps. But I think also interview feedback. If you nail the interview, if you're someone that we're like, oh my gosh, we can't lose this person no matter what, that gives you some significant power.
Right. And this is because the interview feedback or your performance on the interview is the only real signal that companies have about you.
Absolutely. It really is. We can make assumptions based on where you've been, references, perhaps, internal references at Google are a big deal, things like that. Like, it all adds to the overall dossier, but that interview feedback and that kind of working, 45 minutes times 5 is critical to give us a peek behind the curtain of who you are and how you'll perform.
Right. And here, I joked with Amy last time we were on the phone and this came up. I didn't pay Amy to say this. This actually naturally came up in the conversation. But this is a great, but it's a great time to plug in Algo Expert, my company, which helps you prepare for coding interviews like the ones at Google. Because at the end of the day, like, even if you don't take Algo Expert, right, and you just practice for your coding interviews, it's very important. It's gonna be that thing that gives that company the best signal. And then if you compare it up with competing data and all that, then you're golden.
Oh, absolutely. And I think about the interview process, and especially hiring leaders. I mean, these folks have done this for 20, 30 years. They've built companies. I mean, I actually started this job really nervous. Like, am I going to like spill something on my shirt? And like, am I even capable of having conversations with these amazingly smart people? But here's the reality. You're coming into a test environment. So to your point about interview prep, whether it's your service or whatever people are using, would you go sit for the SATs without brushing up? You might be great at math. You might be the best mathematician in your family, but now you have to come and prove it in a test environment. And that's what an interview is. So please, 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 whatever service tool you leverage, prep.
Right. It's super important. And also, like, when you realize just how much is on the table, how much is at stakes, it should just be a no-brainer, right? If you really want to get into Google, then don't go to the interview without prepping. I think that should speak for itself, but...
Yeah. But yet we still have to say it all the time, don't we?
Right. One question that pops up sometimes here, it popped up in my community post, is about what happens if you don't get an offer. You know, you get rejected and you're wondering, why did I get rejected? Maybe you actually felt pretty good about the interviews.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it allowed for recruiters to give you like feedback about interviews, how they went? I feel like I've had different experiences depending on the recruiters.
For sure. Yeah, it's definitely a no, sadly. We're especially, I think this is maybe more of a big tech issue because we are so visible and we are, everybody's like, oh, Google said, and it becomes a big thing. I get calls, it's no good. But it's typically we can't share specifics. One thing that I've heard another recruiter say, which actually makes a lot of sense, is she's like, I can't give you specific feedback because I wasn't there. I wasn't in the room. I wasn't part of the conversation. However, and this is my stance as well, I want to give you as much high-level insight as I can. I can also tell you, and I tell this to my candidates, look, generally it's the Google bar. It's the technical bar where people just don't quite get there, whether it's a coding or whether it's system design, whatever it is. That's almost always where we see people fall short, and therefore we can't move forward with an offer. So I will at least give you that insight. I will also tell you things that went really well. A large number of people at Google today interviewed more than once. You are in great company if it took you 2, 3, 4 tries, believe me.
Yeah.
So especially for folks that are a near miss, I'm going to be like, look, here's the things that went really, really well. Keep doing that. Here's where we didn't get the right signal, specifically around system design or whatever. Here's some resources to brush up. Please call me in a year. Please, let's try again. Because we don't want to just, reject and then move on. So, yeah, it's okay to ask. The one thing or two things I would caution is, one, understand that we're the messenger. Please don't shoot us. I mean, we're just, we can only parlay what we have and what we're given. And two, we can't change it. I've had candidates over the years who, well, that's not fair and this happened and I disagree. It's like, I get it. And even if I'm on your side and I think you're right, I can't overturn this. It's a consensus-driven process. So, but let's try again.
Yeah, but so that's interesting. I think that it really comes down to, maybe this is a very simple way to say it, but it's not rocket science. Most likely, you just could have performed a little bit better. You have to perform better next time. Maybe that means more prep. Maybe that means trying to practice more, like your communication skills or something. If you can get something from the recruiter, that's awesome, but also don't hold them up to it as if it's like their fault that they can't give you more actionable feedback.
Yeah. And we do unfortunately get that. And I know a lot of times it's just simple frustration. I mean, it's a tough message, especially if it's your dream company, whether it's Google or somewhere else, and you've wanted to work there for 10 years. I get it. I have cried after rejection calls more than once, believe me, on both sides of it, rejecting candidates as well as being rejected. So it sucks, but just know that, especially if you're kind to us and we just can kind of, spend a couple minutes commiserating and then agree to stay in touch. Like, believe me, I will be your biggest champion the next time around.
Yeah. I guess this brings me maybe to the final question about this point. Someone asked in the community post, is there anything that they should do or should be on the lookout for if they're re-interviewing with Google? It's the second time around. I guess it's hopefully you've prepped more, hopefully you've taken whatever feedback you got to heart, but is there anything else that you would recommend?
Yeah, I think, and part of it is going to depend on how much time has passed. Like, are we coming back, 12 months later and it's still somewhat fresh? Are we talking about it's been 5 years and it's a whole different role? So I think the bigger the gap and certainly the bigger the difference between the two roles, put the old stuff aside. Don't even think about it. Don't even sweat it. You're coming in fresh. This is brand new signal.
Yeah.
This is a brand new opportunity. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But I think there are some other scenarios, especially where if someone's been like a really, near miss, and let's say even, during the approval process, the decision was made, oh, well, we need more signal, bring them back for another coding round or bring them back for more people. Still, what that means is that we like you a lot and we really want to make this work, but we need just a little bit more info. So again, that is an almost kind of immediate turnaround where I'm going to say, like you said, really hone in on prep. Take some time, take a week if that's what you need. Figure out, how do I really prepare for this kind of second chance? Yeah.
Awesome advice, Amy. I think this is really helpful, and I think it's eye-opening because on the one hand, you've shared a lot of like new nuggets of wisdom. On the other hand, some of the stuff that you've said is stuff that I think a lot of candidates kind of expect. They think, and now it's good to hear it sort of solidified. Like, oh, okay, it really is just that. All right, so the next few minutes are some back-to-back questions straight out of the community post that you wanted me to ask. Enjoy. Okay, here's a question. I think I know the answer to this question, but can excelling in competitive programming help in getting an interview call?
Definitely. I think, again, that just kind of adds to the portfolio, right? Like, I scored really well in this, and it's kind of along the same lines as the side projects and apps and things like that. I mean, it's just another data point that says I'm good at what I do.
Exactly. Ooh, this one's interesting. So this one has sort of nothing to do with recruiting, although maybe we can tie it back to recruiting. Yeah. What do you think sets Google apart from other companies, especially the FAANG companies, the big tech companies?
What do I think sets Google apart from other FAANG companies? Oh my gosh. I mean, I think at our heart, and you could probably speak to this as well. I think at the heart and soul of the company is engineers. It is the engineering prowess. It is the cool stuff that we're building. It's keeping the user at the center of everything. I mean, we are an engineering company. We're not a sales company. Yeah. It is an engineering company. And I think that's something that we're really proud of. That's our legacy, in my opinion.
Cool. That's a great way to put it. I don't think I would have put it better than you. So.
Well, thank you. If you agree, then I must have said something right.
Oh, here's another interesting one. Can you be considered for a full-time SWE job even if you're working on a master's degree, or are you expected to start as an intern?
I don't see why not. Yeah, I think if you meet the qualifications for a full-time SWE job, go for it. Absolutely. I would not hesitate to apply if I met the qualifications, for sure.
How much of a disadvantage, if any, is there to apply for a Google software engineering job as a mechanical engineering graduate?
I think that's fine. And I think, again, like any other role, it depends. Am I coming in as a new grad hire? Do I have experience as a software engineer already? Like, we don't even have a degree requirement, to be frank. So that's not care about that. It really comes down to, again, do I qualify for this role? Whatever the responsibilities might be, whatever the basic qualifications, that's the key you want to look at in a job description. If I meet those qualifications, I'm good. Apply, please.
Exactly. And that degree is not the be-all, end-all thing.
Doesn't matter.
We will end on this last question. I'm very curious to hear how you answer it. How do you become... I'll read it verbatim.
Okay.
How do I become the CEO of Google, parentheses, seriously?
I mean, how do you become the CEO of Google? I would ask Sundar. He's done it. Not an open position I've been asked to work on, even with his ascension to CEO of Alphabet. I think like any role, any leadership opportunity, I think you come in at the level that's appropriate for you. You learn from the ground up. You make relationships. You do great work, and your star will ascend, like Sundar's. So. Yeah.
I guess, Amy, you said it yourself. We need to ask Sundar. So, Sundar, if you're watching, because I'm sure you must watch my videos, Sundar, then come on in and let's have a phone call and ask you how to become the CEO of Google and Alphabet now.
Would love to be a fly on that wall, let me tell you.
All right, well, Amy, I think this was super awesome. Why don't you maybe say any last words that you might have, like if you want to plug in, ways to contact you or resources like your blog?
Definitely. So yeah, as you mentioned, I do have a personal blog, recruitingInYogaPants.com. You can also buy this t-shirt there if you're interested.
But can they code?
But can they code? That's always my response if somebody says something stupid about a candidate, but can they code? Like, let's get back to the point, Right. Doesn't happen at Google, of course. So check out the blog, www.recruitingInYogaPants.com. You can contact me there. You can read tips and tricks and get that template we talked about. I'm also really active on all the social medias, LinkedIn, Twitter, everywhere. Just keep in touch. Ask me questions. I do my best to write posts that answer specific problems you guys are facing and gals are facing. So always happy to do whatever I can to demystify the job search process. Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy. This was super awesome, and I think people are going to really enjoy it.
Oh, I hope so.
That's going to be it for this video. If you made it this far, I really, really, really appreciate your viewership. I hope that you appreciated the content. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And also, let's all give a really, really big thank you to Amy. She was so nice to do this. She gave absolutely fantastic advice and tips and knowledge in these videos. So really, thank you, Amy, and I hope you all thank her as well. And of course, all of her social media is linked in the description below if you want to go follow her or connect with her. With that, thank you again, and I'll see you in the next video.